Welcome to Freya's Fairy Tales, where we believe fairy tales are both stories we enjoyed as children and something that we can achieve ourselves. Each week, we will talk to authors about their favorite fairy tales when they were kids and their adventure to holding their very own fairy tale in their hands. At the end of each episode, we will finish off with the fairy tale or short story read as close to the original author's version as possible. I am your host, Freya Victoria. I'm an audiobook narrator that loves reading fairy tales, novels, and bringing stories to life through narration. I'm also fascinated by talking to authors and learning about their why and how for creating their stories. We have included all of the links for today's author and our show in the show notes. Today is part 2 of 2, where we are talking to Ariana Hagen about her novels. Over the past 2 weeks, you will have heard about her incredible journey of writing since she was a kid, starting to follow her dreams to show her kids it can be done, basing characters on people from life, overcoming writer's block, and balancing writing, a farm, and family. Of Ghosts and Wolves, Book 1 of the Wolf's Heart series by Ariana Hagen. Endless possibility. 2 souls, 1 choice. Sage possesses the skill to see both human and animal specters, a lifelong trait that has thus far proven to be both a blessing and a curse. Existing in obscurity between a forest and mountain range, she hides her nature from the world, enjoying only the company of animals, alive and dead. Her sanctuary, however, crumbles when out of the forest emerges a force too powerful for her to ignore. A great black wolf appears, searching for answers and on the run. One day, a man named Korik arrives, a wanderer from distant lands, and Sage, despite her self-imposed isolation, is drawn to him. Conflicted by their budding friendship, terrified of forming a bond, she safeguards her secrets while exploring what it means to truly live. Yet, Korik is running from a past that may eventually come to haunt them both. The fates may soon demand that they face their demons and shed light on their secrets, together. So you wrote in your story, it's fantasy world. How did you,
Yes.
I know you said that you wanted it to be, um, you had kind of an idea for it or whatever, but how did you develop the world? Did you draw out like a map of?
I have played with a few maps. I wanna get a map for the book as a add-on.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I kinda have a rough idea of how I want it to all be laid out, and organized in the different continents and parts of the world.
Mhm.
So it's there. It's just not concrete.
Yes, I told my husband he's writing a book as well, and
Mhm.
his is, like, takes place on kind of like a college campus, and I'm like, "You need to,
Uh-huh.
like, draw out your campus so you don't
Yeah.
like, oh, they turned right today to get to that class, but then left tomorrow to get to that
Yes.
class."
The magical campus
And I'm
that
like,
has
well, it's like you
changing.
can even go, like, find some college campus's map and just use that
Mhm.
as your blueprint,
Yeah,
like.
absolutely. Yeah. I think it
So,
definitely helps to have a layout.
now you didn't get your names aren't like, Giant's Feet's not crazy, but then the name of your world is a made up
Mhm.
name. How did
Yeah.
you come up with that?
Um, I wanted something that was easy to remember and just not like an everyday word. So it was kind of set off in its own little category. And I read a lot of fantasy books, and there's some of these names that are just like they're like 32 letters long and I can't pronounce them, and I didn't want to go that way. So
Right.
I
Now
just
yours
wanted it to
is
keep it.
Prettia.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I've done a few fantasy ones
Oh
at
no,
this
I'm sure.
point, so
Yeah. A lot to keep in mind.
I'm like, "Oh, I have one coming up that he created his own language, and,
Oh,
um, it
wow.
has, like, elves and dwarves and stuff like that, but he's, like, created their own name, so, like, as if
Yeah,
the creatures are like, "Oh gosh, dwarf, that's the like, the
right.
world version
Yeah.
of it, that's not what we call ourselves."
Oh my
And
gosh.
so that's on TikTok I posted and was like, "Hey, if y'all wanna see how a narrator does all these crazy made up
Yeah.
words, like, get me
Oh,
to 1,000 followers so we can live stream this."
wow. I wanna hear it now. I'm gonna have to check out your TikTok again. I'm just not good at I'm not good at logging into TikTok every day, but
So, did you ever consider, because you self-published, did you ever
mhm,
consider or have you tried to traditionally publish?
I considered it. I looked into it and I looked at the statistics of being accepted with a traditional publisher, and it's ridiculously low.
Mhm.
And then I was looking into all these accounts from other authors who had traditionally published,
Mhm.
and they were like, no, it a lot of it becomes out of your control once you
Right.
hand it over to the publisher. And I just didn't want to deal with that. I wanted it to be my own story, and I'm not worried about being famous or making billions off of it. I just wanted to introduce my story and
Mhm.
share it with other people. So,
And not spend, so how you said you kept a budget. What was your
mhm.
budget that you had set?
I had set like 800 for everything as my budget.
And so that included editing and cover
Mhm.
design and beta
Yes.
readers, and
Yeah,
what else did
everything.
that cover?
That was formatting assistance with the paperback.
Mhm.
I was having issues getting it to format correctly when it was printed.
Mhm.
So I hired somebody to just help me finish putting that together, and that was like $20. But otherwise, it was just the editor, uh, beta readers, cover. That was that was really it, I think.
Okay. And then you
So,
bought a couple because I know you
mhm,
sent me a copy,
yes.
and I did get that on Friday. I
Yay.
checked the
Yeah.
PO box. So
Oh, good. Yeah,
it
I got 10 copies for myself, and I've just
okay.
been kind of passing them out to people and signed a few for some people. Um, and I'm going to try and approach our local library to see if they don't mind carrying my book too. So,
That would be cool.
yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's I also hear, I don't know if you guys have a Barnes& and Noble, but supposedly Barnes& and Nobles will carry your books if you're local.
Oh,
I don't
no,
know
we
I don't
don't,
know how
sadly.
local.
Yeah,
There might
I'll
be
have
other
to look into it.
bookstores, though, that might do that.
Yeah, we do have a bookstore not far from here. I'm gonna have to go over to the, and I think it's independently owned too, so they may be all about local authors then.
Like, "Hey, I'll come in and sign
Yeah,
them for you."
yeah, I'm gonna have to go look into that.
So how, because your book released in April?
The end of February.
So was it that long ago? Gosh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's gone by fast.
And so what have you done, just so other people know, what
Mhm.
have you done to promote your book, and has that worked how you expected, or not so well, maybe avoid it? Or
Yeah, I did do one of those Fiverr promote things like
Mhm,
you had talked about, like, "Hey, we're gonna promote your stuff." That didn't work. I don't recommend that one. Um, but I did run a couple of Facebook ads, I think just like a total of 2 weeks altogether, and I just started one up for the audiobook, and that my goal for that is just to get visibility
mhm,
and traffic, and then I've joined some groups on Facebook for self-published authors, and we do like book swaps where we all buy each other's books,
mhm,
and that's basically what I've done so far. I figure once I have book 2 out, I can kind of push harder with
mhm.
advertising. But with the way that book 1 kind of leaves on a cliffhanger, not like a hard cliffhanger, but a little one, um, I didn't want to disappoint people with a
Right.
wait. So,
Yeah, and I for the podcasts, well, obviously I promote on, or I, like, talk
mhm,
about it on social media,
yeah.
but I do, like, well, I have 3 podcasts total, but I only run, like, 2 of them I run on the same social media accounts, so I only
Mhm,
run, like, 1 set of ads for those guys.
right.
But I'm like, and then 1 set for this one, obviously.
Mhm,
But I'm like, $5 a day. I'm like, or not a
yeah.
day, $5. Yeah, it is a day. So $5 a day is, like, all that
Mhm,
I'll do
right,
for, like, advertising, and you're
right.
same. It's like, I just want visibility, so, like, the
Yeah.
one that's been around since October is, like, just now starting to, like, I'm now getting, like,
Oh,
all these random
yeah.
people starting to, like, follow it, and, like, all of my accounts are growing
Yeah.
faster than they did. And then this one is, like, slowly picking up steam because
building up.
it's well, I just started this one in
Right,
April,
yeah,
so
this is a new one. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like an avalanche effect. It kinda starts slow, and then as it picks up,
Well, I
it
think I remember seeing, like, when I started or before I started, like, researching, like, how long just to have an idea, like, how
mhm,
long does it take to kind of pick up steam
mhm.
because, like, I wanna know, if I get 6 years down the line and have, 5 people listening to each
Right.
episode, is that
Yeah,
good or bad?
yeah,
And it's like, most people and it's the same with YouTube, it's like 1 to 2 years of consistently
right.
now if you the statistic is also that most podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes.
Oh, wow,
So
I didn't
if
know
you've
that.
made it past 10,
You're
you're
already
doing
ahead.
good. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
another recommendation is if you pick a topic and you can't plan like on at the beginning, you can't come up with 10 episodes of
mhm.
content. You need to pick a new thing cuz like
Oh,
you got to be
yeah,
able
I
to
didn't think
talk
about
about it.
that.
This one's a little
Right.
bit different because one, there's a bajillion fairy tales and short stories
Yes.
that you can
Yeah.
do. But then each author, like, I've literally gotten different advice from every single author that I've talked to. So, it's everyone's different and everybody's
Mhm.
process is going to resonate with different people differently.
Yes,
So it's,
absolutely.
everybody's on the same journey, but they
Yeah,
get to the end different ways.
yeah.
Um, so you're
I think
promoting
that's
on Facebook
yes.
and trying social media.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So
think I'm okay with Instagram. I post on there pretty regularly. Um, TikTok, I'm gonna have to really just start working on.
Have you started or have you experienced, like, writer's block or any issues with writing yet?
Yes, I do get writer's block for like when I'm working on one story and not
Mhm,
deviating from that. A lot of times I start to feel a little bit of a burnout.
mhm.
Um, and it's just I usually just go off and write a couple of short stories of something else, and it just seems to like kick my imagination back into gear. It's
Okay.
like cleansing your palate.
Yeah. Get this other thing out.
Just yeah, get something else out, think differently from the way I've been thinking for the last few weeks or days or however long. Experience a different story for a little bit and some different emotions, and then once I've got that all out, I can go back to what I was working on.
So how do you balance writing with all the critters and the family? When
Oh,
do you
yes.
find time to write?
That is the hard part, and a lot of it is hard because my kids are young, so they're very much in the "Mommy, mommy, mommy, I need you" stage,
Mhm.
um, and that kinda pulls me out of the writing, but I do most of my writing in the evening when it's quiet, the kids are supposed to be in bed, and
Supposed to be.
yeah, supposed to be, and most of the animals have settled down for the evening, so that's when I usually sit down, and some days I only get, like, 200 words out. I just type up a few sentences. But there's some evenings where I'll get like 8,000 words, and I
Oh
usually
gosh.
call it good. So
8,000 words, gosh. I think the most I did in a day was like 6,500 and that was like
that's
over an
still a lot
entire
though.
day.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get them all out. But then sometimes I just find myself on a roll. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm just going to keep going.
You'll see
So,
that day I had gone back and read through the entire thing, and
mhm.
then it just, like, kept coming and coming, but then the
Yeah.
next, because I can only really write on the week or research right now, but on
Mhm.
the weekends because during the week, I'm, like, narrating other people's
Right.
books and reading
Yeah.
through, whatever the next book I need to read through is,
Mhm.
and so, like, on the weekend, sometimes I have to read more than people that write every day would typically have to
Mhm.
go back and reread.
Yeah.
So I did like 6,500 books one day, and then the next weekend was when the other book was like not wanting to leave my head. And so
Mhm.
I got like 1,000 words over the course of the weekend. And I was that next week is when I was like, we're putting this one on pause so we can go to this other one,
Yeah.
which I like know is going to be a series, just like from what I want
Mhm.
to do. How many books? We will see.
Yeah.
More than
It's a
one.
journey.
We'll stop when we stop. So all right. And so do you have any tips for anyone that's wanting to write or has thought about writing?
Just do it. And I'm one of those people who I'll have an idea, but I'll let the story guide me.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't plot out everything ahead of time. I just kind of write as I do. And I think it's okay to do that. Even if you think it is a bad story that's coming out,
Mhm.
just get out whatever is in your head and follow that path. And even if you end up not using it, you can still take bits and pieces of it and put it into something else if you want. Because
My
all
first
writing
book
produces good work in some way or another.
Right. Even if it's just the stepping stone to get you to
Yes,
the next book.
exactly. Yeah.
My first book was when I was a kid, and it was about guinea pigs.
Oh, that's
And my
cute.
mom my mom it was, I was homeschooled, and, my mom, like, bound it and everything, so it's in, like, this, like, nice cover with,
Uh-huh.
like we had guinea pigs, so it's got, like, pictures of the guinea pigs, and,
Oh,
like, it's
that's
this whole
sweet.
story
Yeah.
about the guinea pigs. So that was my first not published for the public book.
That's really cute.
So these days, I'm like, I plan to self-publish because, like you, I
Mhm.
don't want to give up that
Right.
control of everything, but unlike you, I'm gonna narrate my own book, so I'll go a little bit wider
Yeah.
wider with the
I
distribution.
don't blame you at all.
Now from what I've researched and found, like, obviously Amazon accounts for a large like, in audiobooks, it's like 40% of audiobook sales come through
Mhm.
them. So I'm like,
Mhm.
when I'm pitching people on and I pitched one recently, my like, right now, I so want to do a fairy tale retelling. Like, I don't care what the retelling is. I'm like, I
Mhm.
want to narrate a fairy tale retelling. Like, I
Yeah.
just want to. And so I, like, keep stumbling across people that write those kind of books, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Please let me narrate your book." And one lady's like, "I don't like the royalty share. I wanna be able to
Oh.
pay up front." But, like, she went and listened to, like, my TikToks and stuff
Mhm.
and is like, "I like your voice, but I wanna be able to pay up front," which I'm like, "Shoot, I'll always take money up front if
Yeah,
that's what
heck
you
yeah.
wanna do."
Who says no to money?
Right? But I'm like, unlike other I feel like I probably take on more royalty share than most narrators because I'm like,
Mhm.
if I wanna read the story, I mean,
Yeah.
ideally, it makes money down the road, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
definitely.
what did I do before I narrated? Sat on the couch and read books all day
Yeah.
long or watched Netflix all day long. So, we're being more productive, at least we have a chance
Yeah.
of making money. And I think
Well,
all of them so far have at least sold 1 copy, so I haven't
oh,
had
that's
a
good.
single book not sell anything
Right,
yet.
good. Oh, good. Well, I mean, I know that myself and I'm sure a lot of other authors appreciate you doing the royalty share because it makes it accessible to us. Otherwise a lot of us wouldn't be able to do it.
Now I did
It's
recently see I feel like it was a very, very controversial TikTok video, but an author had an author friend of hers say she needed her 5-book series narrated, and they quoted her like $10,000 to narrate these 5 books,
Mhm.
and I'm like, but nowhere does she mention the word count, like how many words it was, and nowhere
Oh,
does she ever mention what narrator she reached out to. Because 'cause I'm like, if
yeah.
you're going to, like, the best of the best, you're gonna pay that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
also, are these epic fantasy lengths, or are these, like
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, there's a
how long
huge
are these
difference
books?
between like just a regular like 70,000 word fiction and then those like 300,000 word epic fantasy sci-fis and stuff. Like that's a big difference.
When I always appreciate I like dealing I deal with both authors and publishers. I feel
Mhm.
like authors are more understanding of it's going to take time to get
Mhm.
the book done. So, like, you gave me I don't it was a pretty decent amount of time to get the book done, and I never had
Uh-huh.
any issues hitting that
Yeah, no.
deadline. But then I've had, like, other ones be like, "Oh, a 9-hour book, that'll take you 9 hours, right?" And I'm
Ah,
like,
what?
I'm like, "Oh, honey, I feel like faster than average, but I also do all of my own editing."
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can get like an hour and a half a day on like most days.
Right.
And so at this point, I actually chop the manuscript up into like day 1, day 2, day 3, like how many
Oh.
pages I got to get
Mhm.
through. just to make it easier on myself.
Right.
So it's like once you get to the end of these
Yeah.
this section of pages, you're done.
You can give up for the day.
That's not how I always did it, and the reason
Mhm.
that I do it that way now is because, like, around Christmas time, I had a lot of nonfiction projects,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really keeping track of, like, how many pages I had done, and so, it
Mhm.
would be like, "Oh, it's due on, like, Monday," and I'm like, "Oh, crap, I get to Monday, and I've still got, like, 70 pages to go," and I'm like, "Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh, but I have to get done so it's on time."
Mhm.
So I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So, and yours was in the midst of me taking a lot of royalty share and not paying attention to how long it's gonna take
Oh.
me to record them. So now I actually,
Oh.
like, I have a special section on my calendar for, like, here's your recording schedule. So,
Mhm.
like, Monday through Friday, you're gonna do, like, this many pages of this
Right.
book, and then
Yeah.
move on to I get Saturdays. Last Saturday, I had slacked off on the editing during the week, and so last Saturday, I spent most of Saturday editing.
Mm. Mhm.
So this weekend, I did not do that.
You need a break sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, "You're going to edit the way you're supposed to."
Yeah.
But I'm working on, like, a 13-hour audiobook right now, so
Oh, that's a long one.
that takes a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
yours is the and I typically don't audition for, like, less than 4 hours right now
Mhm.
just 'cause, I feel like shorter books are gonna want them faster than
Mhm.
longer books will want them, or shorter books are gonna be less okay with waiting, is what I should say
Right.
in my thinking, that's what I
Mhm.
think. Um, but yeah, yours, so far, any authors I've repeated have been cool with like, "Hey, when's your availability now that I've got this
Yeah.
next book up?" So,
Well, I mean, narrating is an art form and you want at least I want you to go ahead and take your time and
do good.
not feel rushed. Yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
you rushing through it. I want you to feel good about it,
Well, I'm
and
like, I
then
talk
I'll feel good
fast
about it.
already. So I'm like, I was talking to another author, the same day that I messaged you about like trying to like incorporate breaths. So it sounds a
Yes, the
little, a
breathing.
little, not that
Yeah.
I don't breathe, but like I edit out a lot of them.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, working on this, and I'm like, with normal jobs or tasks that you do, you get better, you get
Mhm.
faster.
Mhm.
I'm like, with
Oh.
narrating, you can't get faster at
Yeah,
talking.
right.
I'm like, I talk too fast already. So you need like Gilmore Girls out there, like,
Oh my gosh, I know. They they definitely talk fast in that show.
yeah.
But I think listening to your narration of my story, like the pace at which you spoke was perfect. So at least
When you can
in
slow it
the
down, it's like I have one
oh.
author that is actually the publisher that hired me, but they want you to have the author listen to make sure
Mhm.
that they like approve of it. And she was like, "You talk a little fast, but it might be okay for other people." And I'm like, "Well, on the Audible app, you can like slow," and I imagine other listening apps are the same, but you
Mhm.
can slow down the pace if you don't want to listen to it at one
Oh,
time. You can
okay.
do like three
Yeah.
quarters or
Oh, wow.
whatever. Um,
That's pretty nifty. I didn't even know that.
yeah, I haven't used that function before, but I know
Mhm.
it's there.
Yeah.
Same with I think on podcasts, you can also do that if you want it
Yes, I think
slowed
I've seen
down or
that on
sped up.
podcasts. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
All this
all kinds
technology.
of yeah, all kinds of things.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we are about wrapped up. So, do you
Okay.
have any final tips or tricks or anything for
Oh
anybody that
gosh.
might be listening?
I feel like I'm the worst person to give tips and tricks because I kind of just I wing everything. So definitely read your own
Or
book aloud, which I did not do. And when I added things after the first editing, I added extra mistakes, which I should have caught by reading it aloud, but I didn't. And then I don't know, just write it out. It doesn't have to be a complete story or a complete thought. Just write it down because you never know when you're going to use it in the future.
And if someone
Um,
else is stuck in their 2 months of convincing themselves,
mhm.
what
Ah,
finally convinced you to do it?
actually, reading 2 things. One was reading the Witcher books and realizing that he didn't become famous for, like, 30 years
Oh gosh.
after he wrote those books, something ridiculous like that, and thinking, in 30 years from now, I could be sitting here on this manuscript that I never did anything with,
Mhm.
or I could have it out there possibly becoming worldwide known. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna sit here and do nothing with it?
Well, I
That's
have to say,
silly.
as someone who gets royalties for 7 years, I would like you to make it big in the 7
I'm yes.
years.
I'm hoping that I become big before I retire,
Well, I try
but,
to do too. I started doing on Fridays, I will cycle through. So, like, I have the 5 minute promo or whatever it's called, the sample that we put up on Audible.
mhm,
I make like a video with that. And then on Fridays, I kind of cycle through my book.
mhm,
So I'm constantly, every Friday, it's a hashtag that was already there, but Flashback Friday
uh-huh,
is what the hashtag
yeah,
is. And so then I'll post, one audiobook or whatever. So I'm like,
yeah,
man, at very least, I mean, 7 years is a long time, but I'm like, at
yes,
very least, I'm cycling through all which, of course, that list will get longer as I
right,
keep going, but
yeah.
I can always go out of order if, like, one has if one of them were to make, like, a TV show or a movie or
Yeah.
something.
Oh gosh, that actually brings up something. I talked to a family friend who read my book recently, and, she used to work in the TV show industry, and she used to be a book hunter
Oh
for TV
gosh.
shows, and she was like, "If you finish, book 2 and book 3," she's like, "I'll go back to my old boss and I'll pitch your
Oh
book
my
to them."
god, that would
So I
be
was like,
so
"Oh." Yeah, I was like,
cool.
"Okay, so now I feel the pressure. Like, now I really need to get these books out."
The first author that I talked to on here, she was like, "I would do anything to have my books made into something."
That'd be so cool. I mean, that'd be fun. Why not? You find out that your story made it to TV or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm just feeling the pressure now. Just
Alright, well, you keep writing and
oh, I
getting
will.
getting books done, and now that you actually have a book out there, you might be able to find beta readers a little easier maybe. You gotta get the
Yes,
TikTok thing going because
I do. I need to do that.
there's a lot of beta readers and stuff on TikTok that you're just like, "Hey, I need
Oh,
beta readers," and they
yeah. See, I didn't even
volunteer.
know that. Yeah, I need to delve into that whole world. Technology is not my best thing, but I need to get on top of it.
Alright, well, thank you so much for
Yeah, thank
talking to
you.
me today, and I cannot wait to read book 2 whenever
Oh,
it is
thank you.
ready
Thanks.
and start prepping all of that.
Yes. Yes, I can't wait.
And we'll see where, book 1 takes us, and hopefully
Yes,
it keeps going because
I hope so.
it's doing uh, I don't know that I've had books sell that many copies that quickly yet. I feel like
Yeah,
all books
it's
are like,
going.
it's gonna roll down the hill and pick up
Mhm.
speed as it goes, so
I hope so. Yeah, it's going. There's some progress, so any progress is great with me. I'm happy about that.
well, thank you so much for being on here, and
Thank
I hope you
you.
have a good rest of your
Thank you,
Sunday,
you
and I will
too.
talk to you soon.
Alrighty, I can't wait.
Alright,
Bye.
bye. Ariana loves fairy tales with magic and animals. Aesop was a Greek fabulist and storyteller credited with a number of fables now collectively known as Aesop's Fables. Although his existence remains unclear and no writings by him survive, numerous tales credited to him were gathered across the centuries and in many languages in a storytelling tradition that continues to this day. Many of the tales associated with him are characterized by anthropomorphic animal characters. Today, we will be reading The Rat and the Elephant by Aesop. Don't forget, we are also continuing the original story of Beauty and the Beast on our Patreon. The Rat and the Elephant. A rat was traveling along the king's highway. He was a very proud rat considering his small size and the bad reputation all rats have. As Mr. Rat walked along, He kept mostly to the ditch. He noticed a great commotion up the road, and soon a grand procession came in view. It was the king and his retinue. The king rode on a huge elephant adorned with the most gorgeous trappings. With the king in his luxurious howdah were the royal dog and cat. A great crowd of people followed the procession. They were so taken up with admiration of the elephant that the rat was not noticed. His pride was hurt.
"What fools!" he cried. "Look at me and you will soon forget that clumsy elephant. Is it his great size that makes your eyes pop out? Or is it his wrinkled hide? Why, I have eyes and ears and as many legs as he. I am of just as much importance and—"
But just then the royal cat spied him, and the next instant the rat knew he was not quite so important as an elephant. A resemblance to the great in some things does not make us great. Thank you for joining Freya's Fairy Tales. Be sure to come back next week to hear Anne's journey to holding her own fairy tale in her hands and to hear one of her favorite fairy tales.